Hey, Greer.
What's going on, Clay?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, just a moment here. All right, hold on one second.
I think you have it recording too if you want to stop it and start it over.
Okay. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. How have you been?
Pretty good. I can't complain, man. I cannot complain. Fresh off a spring break, and they've thrown us right back into the fire here at Emory.
Oh, wow. Crazy,
Yep.
crazy. But yeah, man, it's been time is just flying by. What can I say?
Telling you. We're halfway through March. I mean, spring
Yeah.
is here, the pollen is coming out.
You got that right, for
It's
sure.
hard to believe. It's hard to believe.
Yes. But let's get right on to it, man.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Uh, Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another recap. This is your host, Clay D, along with Greer Webb. Let's get right down to it. So, why don't we start this morning by talking sports? So, the tournament, Greer, let's just get on to it. What are your thoughts? Because your alma mater scored a lot of controversy this past weekend.
Man, they just broke the news this week. So for those who don't know, UNC Chapel Hill made it into March Madness. They made it into the NCAA tournament. They play tonight, actually, Tuesday, March 18th at 9:10 Eastern against San Diego State University. North Carolina was the last team to make it into this prestigious tournament this year. And so it's caused a lot of controversy. Did they deserve to be in? Did they not? I'm a little biased, so I might defer to Clay on this one, but I think they did deserve to be in the tournament. I do hope that they make a long run and prove the haters wrong. But they've stirred up a lot of controversy, and it's made it into the national news on multiple levels, right? Even when it comes to the legal space, the West Virginia governor, I think, is leading a lawsuit against the NCAA now and saying that West Virginia University deserved to be in and UNC did not. And so I think that's a little extreme, but hey, I love to see that sports and I guess North Carolina is right there in the news.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm always going to root for the North Carolina teams when they're in the big dance because I live here and have history here and all of that. But so I'm happy they're in it just for that aspect. But if I didn't have a dog in the fight, if this was something different, I would be like, nah, what the heck are they doing and are they here for? I mean, you go down, blown off your doors twice. I mean, the ACC tournament game was close, but y'all been getting your doors blown off you. So it's like, come on now. Like,
That's
really?
true.
It ain't been
It's
a
not
great
been the
season.
best season.
Yeah, it's not been a great season. I mean, Hubert Davis has been fired a million times throughout the season. Let's just be
That is
honest about
true.
that. And the fact that they're here, look, they, they're lucky. Let's just be honest about that. I think they even have a UNC guy on the tournament selection committee I saw, but hey, look, I hope they can prove the haters wrong, and I hope they can make a good ride. It's good for business. It's good for North Carolina. It's good for you, Greer. If they make a deep run, it's always good when they at least make the Sweet 16. So you're in it. Do something about it now. So that's how I feel. I think they have a good chance to make the Sweet 16.
Really?
If yeah, yeah, I'll give them that. I mean, just because I don't think you need to be in the tournament don't mean that. I mean, since you're already in it. I mean, how many times in other sports or other areas where we've seen teams that shouldn't make the playoffs, but if they happen to be it, they would make a good run just based on matchups alone. So it happens a lot. That's just how I feel on that. Um,
Yeah, and just to clear the air a bit, and to go off your point, the UNC athletic director, Bubba Cunningham, is the selection committee chair this year. And so people have been saying, oh, there was probably some bias there. But it seems as though he recused himself from all conversations involving North Carolina and actually left the room when those conversations were happening. Now, I've seen some jokes on Twitter or X, I guess, whichever you want to call it, that he had his ear to the door or he had an earpiece or something. But look, it is what it is. There are many, many teams in this tournament. It was expanded. I think it used to be 32. Now it's 64 with these two play-in games, I believe. So at the end of the day, it is what it is now. I guess that's easy for me to say as a UNC fan, but I'm looking forward to watching the Tar Heels tonight and seeing if they can make a deep run and just watching all of the games when I have the time because I love this time of year and there's nothing like March Madness.
there's nothing like it at all. There's nothing like it at all. So, but yeah, how do you think your other favorite team, Duke, is going to do in this tournament run?
I think
I'm
I
messing
do
with
think
you.
Duke is going to do well. I am a Carolina fan, but I can say that Duke has a really good team this year, and I think they're going to do well in the tournament. Obviously, they won the ACC tournament, and I think the regular season as well. And they're the top number one seed. So I think they might have some competition there. I'll have to look at the bracket again. I filled one out yesterday, and I guess I'll break the news here. I actually have Duke winning it all in that bracket. And so we'll see if that comes to fruition or if a team is able to step up and really challenge them. But they have a good team this year. I think Cooper Flagg will be back for the NCAA tournament, and that will help them. He's good. It's undeniable. So, yep.
Well, I got them winning the whole thing. So let's just go ahead and get that out there. So right out in the open, I got him. I got John Shire winning his first. So I think that would be good. I'm already just prognosticating here and predicting. I think that'd be good for him to get the Coach K monkey off his back. If there is a monkey, I don't know. But he's always gonna be tied to Coach K and anything
Right.
he does will be tied to Coach K. So it would be good to get his own hardware. So I think Duke will win it all. Um, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't, but I'm just gonna go on a limb and just say Duke will win it all. So but yeah,
There you go. And I do like John Shire. I think that would be great for him. I think he's a good coach, a family man, and
yeah, he
yeah,
is
like you said, we'll see what happens.
for sure, for sure. So what's the transition over now to other into the NBA? LeBron James is going to be out at least for about a week or so. And the NBA is kind of picking up some steam right now. It looked as though this was a dead season, like a dead in the water season, where it just looked like it was on the brink of collapse, where LeBron might retiring. I don't think he's going to retire. I just don't. But the ratings is being very bad. The All-Star game just being just awful, and you're just losing a lot of fans and everything. But now it looks like there's some little juice as of late after the whole Luka Doncic trade and such to Los Angeles and all. And it looks like we might actually get a good competitive NBA playoffs. What are your thoughts on that, Greer?
I mean, I hope so. Like I said on this show, I think a few weeks ago, the NBA has gone downhill over the past few years. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I love LeBron James. I love the Lakers. I love when the league is competitive. And so I hope that the playoffs turn out to be competitive, and I hope it turns out to be entertaining. I think that would be good for the league and good for people who still have a little bit of love for the NBA, but there's no doubt it's not what it used to be. I think one of the biggest stories going around that I saw over the weekend was the coach of the Detroit Pistons, JB Bickerstaff, going off on the referees and saying that his players and really the team there in Detroit is not being fairly officiated. This was after they lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a
Hmm.
really good player in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. SGA as he's known. And so just to see the different emotions going around the league and the strategies that teams are employing now to try and make a run in the playoffs, I think there is some hype, maybe a little bit of a resurgence, as you're alluding to. And we'll see what happens. But I think at the end of the day, the NBA needs a boost. And I think that having the games be more competitive and having the stars as healthy as possible to play in those games is one of the keys.
for sure. I think the Lakers will make a deep run. I have them going to the finals. Another bold
Really?
prediction. Yeah, it's a kind of sort of bold prediction, but I think you can either get at least the Lakers to the finals against the Celtics or the Cavs, maybe the Knicks. So I might be way on a limb there, but I think that would be good for basketball if you get the marquee, at least get Lakers Celtics or Lakers Knicks. Especially it's needed. The league needs it right now. It needs a good marquee storied franchise matchup in the postseason. So I think that will be good for the game itself. They are changing media partners next year. They're losing TNT. They're going to be consolidating inside the NBA crew to ESPN, and yeah, that's going to happen. And they're Amazon Prime and NBC/Peacock will be picking up rights beginning next season. So we'll see what happens. TNT, aka Discovery, Warner Bros. Discovery, didn't mind letting them go. They felt that it was actually a win for them to lose the NBA rights but the media platform is changing. That's also another reason for the ratings decline. I mean, it's not just a product. I mean, that's one part of it, but it's also just that viewing habits are changing. And we're more of a streaming first society now as opposed to a linear cable or linear television watching society. So that's just something to keep an eye out for in the coming months. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
was talking to somebody about that the other day, though, and it's just not the same, at least for me, to stream the NFL or to stream the NBA on Amazon Prime. I mean, I don't think Amazon Prime is the most user friendly. They still have kind of a old form structure. It's just different. Or Peacock. I don't even have Peacock, but um, look, money talks, and so
Yeah,
I do. I love Inside the NBA, right? I think that's a very entertaining show, and that's a great crew with Ernie and Kenny and
Shaq and
Shaq and
stuff.
Charles. So to see TNT lose that is tough. So I don't know what they're going to do there, but yeah, streaming is the new cable. So we'll have to adjust and see if the NBA is able to maintain its power as a top league.
Did you see that Netflix, or is it at least reported that Netflix is all in to acquire all of the NFL rights, like this outright, like not even a portion of it, like this outright, all of them. Or I could be
No,
wrong
I didn't see
with
that.
that
I didn't
report,
see that.
but yeah, like coming up in a couple years to buy out Fox and the other Fox, NBC, CBS, just buy them out completely from their current contract with an out clause or something like that. Like that would just be too much. Like the buffering.
Mm.
Ah man. It's a little different turning on your TVC game as opposed to logging in and streaming. I don't know, it's just too tedious for me to do
It
it.
is tedious, and you saw the buffering issues a bit last season on Netflix when they hosted that first NFL game, if I'm not mistaken, and then they hosted another one where Beyonce did the halftime show, and that one actually worked out. But yeah, it's very tedious, it's very hit or miss, and so I'm sure they'll start to work some of those technical difficulties, if you will, out, especially if they were to acquire all of the rights. But yeah, I didn't see that about Netflix. They're really becoming a powerhouse. And I do think Netflix is one of the superior streaming services. Maybe because they were around first, right? Even back when it used to be DVDs. But I think that this whole sports and entertainment realm is so rapidly changing, especially because we're in this new digital age with AI and people just trying to perfect technology. So we'll see if that works. And we'll see if sports fans latch on to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's transition over to our favorite subject, or at least still our favorite subject, I would hope, politics. Don't even know where to go. So I'm just going to say you just pick a landing spot because Lee literally can be anywhere.
Yeah, I
The
mean, we
sun,
really
yeah.
can. It's wild. Let's just go to a place that is near and dear to my heart. And I know that you have some experience and interest in it as well, the legal space.
Hmm.
So the Trump team is currently in some litigation over the fact that they deported what they're calling illegal immigrants and flew these people out of the United States into another country after a judge told them not to do that, or at least questioned whether or not they were doing that. And so they're drawing this distinction, which makes no sense to me, over the judge's verbal order. This is a federal judge, I believe, versus the judge's written order. And they're saying that even though the judge said we shouldn't do this, or he had some questions in court, since it wasn't written down, we don't have to legally abide by it. On the other hand, they're also arguing that the executive, right, the president, has the authority to deport people like this, and they're citing a 200 plus year old law that is reserved for use in times of war. And so the Trump administration, I guess, is declaring a war on immigration, and defying federal judges and saying, well, only what judges write down is what we have to follow. And somebody, a legal commentator on the news last night, was making the point that that is just preposterous because what happens when you're in court and the judge and you say objection and the judge says overruled? Do you just get to keep going because the judge didn't write the word overruled down on paper? No, you're supposed to stop and show deference and respect to the court. And the weight of the judge's words has the same weight as seeing those words on paper, at least in theory. And so this is going to be a very interesting legal argument from my perspective. And again, it shows you how the Trump administration is trying to push the limits, right? Stretch the boundaries of what they can and can't do because they believe they have this mandate from the American people. And so this idea of immigration and illegal immigration is in the news again. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Clay, but that's my
Yeah.
perspective as a current law student.
I think, I'll keep it real simple. I think that they're going to do what they want to do. I mean, we've already have established that things don't apply to them that it would to other citizens. So, I can look at this from a legal angle, but that's just the reality of it at the end of the day. So we had to just keep staying aware, stay abreast, and I know it gets tiring to say this, but just keep fighting. you know, of it's a lot. This administration is doing the most. And now they kind of just transition it over. There's economy fears, there's economic fears. I honestly am just kind of just tuning it out now because you ever see those pictures on Instagram where it shows a picture of Kamala Harris up just looking at you and someone puts in the caption, "I told you so." It was if I told you so it was a person. I mean, yeah,
Literally.
exactly. But not to relitigate, no pun intended, or rerun the election cycle. But I mean, at some point, I don't, or if they ever will, Trump voters or supporters are just gonna have to find a good logical answer to, okay, they don't cut your job, they don't cut your benefits, they don't cut this. This happened. What do you got to say? They say nothing. They they love the character, but not the policy. But they're gonna
Mm,
keep voting on the character because they like the character, but not the policy.
mm.
Yeah, I don't know what logical excuse can somebody who at least I want to say is decent minded, middle of the road, will vote for Trump once or maybe twice or maybe three times, uh, justify this. I want to hear a logical justification for your support still, if you still have support.
Right. Right.
Because
And I don't think there is much, yeah, I don't think there is much justification. And I think your point is well taken about people voted for and are still supporting this administration based on the character, not based on the policy or policies, because they are doing the most. And a lot of these policies are actually harming poor white folks, right? And rural white folks and folks who voted for Trump, but they're just so hesitant to revoke that support. Um, it's really unfortunate, and we are seeing the ways in which uh, many people are being harmed, not just black folks, not just DEI people. I mean, many Americans are being harmed because most Americans aren't super rich and super wealthy, and so these cuts are going to impact the average American that people always talk about. And you know, F around and find out, right? People are in the find out phase. People are in the find out phase. Let's switch to another topic because I think it's important. It keeps coming up in the news. It's very unfortunate, but it needs to be discussed. Israel launched another attack on Gaza and the Middle Eastern area. I believe over 400 people died. And they're saying in the news, okay, what does this mean now for Gaza? What does this mean for the Middle East? And it just seems like Israel is in such attack mode these days. There's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The majority of people over there, right, are just folks who need help. They're not all Hamas. And so, what do you make of this? When I mean, had a ceasefire deal, I think, but now we're still attacking certain areas, and Israel says it's strategic, but we're seeing hundreds of people dying every time, and that includes people who are not associated with Hamas. I mean, what do you think about that? Is that okay? Is that worth it?
Oh no, nothing's worth it. Human life is never worth it. I mean, this is be honest about that. Um, it's never worth it. I know there's casualties in war, but in this particular case, we cannot risk or sacrifice anymore this human life that's out there. And the people who protest about these things, they are right. They're right and they're justified in protesting that and such. So, people often villainize these protesters, but they have a right to do that for one. And what they're arguing for isn't that radical. Let's just be honest. So we just don't need any more this human life just being a casualty in this situation. And that's really just a more humanitarian side of me looking at this. Now, policy side, anything that comes from this administration, I'm just not going to be on too much on the high horse of because, yeah, it's not going to have the best interests of the people in mind, in my opinion. So that's how I feel on that.
Yeah, I agree. I was just skimming an article. It's saying that, like I said, over 400 people have died in Gaza. This was like a surprise attack, and the ceasefire deal that was in place is basically over. And Israel's claiming they did this because Hamas did not release the hostages that they promised to. So, I mean, I don't know. It's an intricate and complex conflict, and then also it's not, like you said, there just in 2025 have to be better ways of going about this than taking lives, especially innocent people's lives. And so we'll see. I don't know what Trump's policy is on this really. I know he wants to turn it into a Riviera over there and like make money off of Gaza. So I think that's disgusting. But at the end of
Mhm.
the day, um, Israel gets a lot of its support from America. So we'll have to see how America moves now that Israel has launched these surprise attacks on Gaza and on the people who are living there. I think it's important to reiterate your point, to recognize that there are people who live in Gaza, right? There are people who are being bombed and losing their lives. It's not just this desolate area and they're just kind of shifting the rubble around. I mean, people are losing their lives, families are losing family members, and the ability to create lasting generations is being removed by Israel's pretty extreme actions. And so I do think that protesters are in the right who continue to call this out, and I hope we see more protests and more pressure put on the American government to stand up for life and to stand up for a more strategic end to this conflict rather than just resorting to the most extreme tools of war.
Yeah, you've seen those AI generate images, I'm guessing, of the Gaza Strip looking like Las Vegas or something like that. Just, yeah, yeah, come on,
Yeah,
really.
it's terrible. I mean, there are people again who live there who have family history there, and so I just don't think that's right in any capacity to turn that into a luxury resort like area just because there's water right there. these people who are marginalized have really had their lives taken away from them, and to just turn that into Israeli land or American land, that's not appropriate. It's basically colonialism, and
Yeah.
so that's not something that I support.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I
so
feel like
let's
beating
turn the
a
page. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
go ahead. No, go ahead.
turn the page over to on Congress. You seen the flack that Senator Chuck Schumer is going through, right? He's getting dragged. Have you seen that?
I
Heard
have.
about that?
I
What are your
have.
thoughts on that?
I mean, I hate to see people get dragged, but I think there's
Yeah.
uh there's a point. There's a point to this dragging. There's a purpose here, and I think it's that Democrats need to stand up and have a backbone. And they need to really stand up to Trump and his policies and not let him think that he's in total control. And so I understand Chuck Schumer's point to a degree. But I think, and I was reading the other day, that a lot of Democrats, both moderate Democrats and extremely liberal Democrats, are fed up with Schumer and that way of thinking. And the American people don't think that the Democrats are looking out for the average American, again, for the farm worker or for the young person or for the poor person. Democrats are just on the wrong side of a lot of these fights. And so to see Schumer um, say what he said or do what he did, uh, he was getting lambasted for it, but I think that there might be some appropriateness to this dragging. What do you think? I know it had to do with the government shutdown, and nobody really likes for the government to shut down, but somebody has to stand up to Trump and show
At
him
some
that
point,
you
at
can't
some
just
point,
get away with this massive shift in the way that we do democracy.
at some point, if you don't stand for anything, you will fall for anything. And he's a career politician by definition. This man has held elected office since he was in his early 20s, mid 20s. You can look it up. And he's used to wheeling and dealing for better or for worse. You know what? There has never been too many calls for Schumer to be removed or step down or whatever. I think this is the time now. It ain't even got enough. It's not even just this. It's just the Democratic Party as a whole needing to find new voices and all. I am for AOC primarying him.
Mm.
I'm just going to say that out front. I'm not even going to mince
I
words.
like it. I like it.
I mean, she's been silent enough, and granted, I'm not the biggest AOC cheerleader, but dang, at least you're gonna get something out of her. At least I would hope.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I saw a post the other day on Instagram that said that amongst active Democrats, people who are still paying attention and who are still saying, I'm a staunch Democrat, AOC was ranked number one as their favorite person right now. Over Bernie Sanders, over Chuck Schumer, even over Kamala Harris and Jasmine Crockett. They said, AOC, that's the type of spirit, that's the type of fight, that's the type of energy we want to see from Democrats. And so that's interesting, just to hear your proposal there. And I do think that Chuck Schumer needs to shut to shut it down. No pun intended. He needs to step on down because I mean I knew a few weeks ago when he was flapping his arms around and leading chants outside whatever building that was. And thinking that that was the most effective way to get some change. I mean, I just think of your comment all the time. Talking is good, or protesting and yelling is one thing, but how do you follow that up with action, right? How are you being strategic to ensure that your words or your statements mean something? And so to just be flailing around singing songs, and it's just this whole old democratic way of, oh, everything's going to be okay, it'll even itself out. Not with Trump, it won't. You have to shut him down and you have to show him that he's not in control. The American people are in control. There is an opposition party. There are people willing to step up and confront wrongdoing, and singing songs and creating chants is not going to do it. So I do think it's time for Schumer to go, or at least to step down from his leadership position and let somebody else, somebody younger, chart a new path for Democrats, at least Senate Democrats.
for sure, absolutely. You got that right. I he's just been there too long. He's never been the strongest or loudest Democrat to me to begin with. So, and this is just going on for many years. I always just felt that I never really seen him as a leader. I've always just seen him more as a follower. He just follows a trend. I've never seen him. We never painted Chuck Schumer for real leadership, if you think about it. Well, he just happens to be there. He happens to be there for the group project and takes victory when you get the A, but but other than that, he's MIA most of the time. You know, he just goes with what's ever convenient at that particular time. That's how I've always viewed him. Yeah, I mean, and he doesn't speak up enough unless it's the proper thing to speak up. I can go back to the first Trump term. I can go back to even the Biden term. I go all the way back to Obama or Bush. What are you doing? I understand, you're an old school politician, but there's a reason why people have never said, "Hey, why don't Chuck Schumer run for president?" There's a reason for that. I'm just saying, you know, not that everybody
Well,
should try to aspire to be president, but there's nothing that's signaling leadership. No pun intended, because that's in his title. I It never has been to me. I'm just being honest. So yeah.
yeah, he's never been a strong leader to me. And it's just unfortunate because at the end of the day, he is someone with a lot of privilege, right? With a lot of power. And like you said, he just kind of ebbs and flows, and I'm just not sure what his vision is. Same with Hakeem Jeffries on the House side. Like, what is your mission? What is your vision? What is your goal beyond chanting and singing and spoken word? What are you willing to do and willing to sacrifice for the betterment of your constituents and for the American people as a whole?
I'm gonna cut him a little more slack and grace. I probably shouldn't, because if you let things slide too much, it's gonna snowball into an avalanche. Only reason why I will afford Hakeem Jeffrey some grace, for better or for worse, because he is the first person of first black person to, or at least about to be first Speaker of the House who's African American. We keep calling him that, but he ain't that yet. But I
Right,
know I had to catch myself.
right.
I said, wait, he ain't even speaker yet. I had to catch myself right there. I think that's what he's jockeying for. So he's going to be a little more calculated. So I'm going to afford him a little grace. And it's probably the last time I'm going to give anybody grace, because everybody's going to be graced out of me. But
I know. I mean, Jeffries has.
yeah.
I would give him a little bit more grace as well. I just threw him in there because there are certain times where I think he could have done more, like specifically during the State of the Union, where he said, no, the Democratic caucus needs to be, quiet and they need to be on one accord. They don't need to interrupt. They don't need to protest. He's just a little bit more moderate than I would like. But I do think, he's younger. He's still trying to find his place. I'll give him a little more grace than Schumer. But the whole party needs to be transformed into a machine that's willing to confront Trump and really get back to their roots of defending the little guy or the little woman in America who's being stepped on and overlooked and overburdened by corporations, by politicians, by their bosses. Where are the Democrats out there like Debbie Dingle and some of these folks in Michigan, Alyssa Slotkin, who are going to union halls, who are going into factories, who are going into small businesses? How can I help you? What can I do for you? What does your family need? What do you think about all this insurance stuff? How can I protect your Medicaid and Social Security? You see how I just came up with that in
Yeah.
like 10 seconds? I need all of the Democrats at the federal level doing that and getting back to their roots, going back home and getting in touch with their people, the people who elected them, the people whom they serve, instead of going up to Washington and forgetting where they came from. So I'll get off my soapbox on that, but I just think that they all need more energy. They all need to remember themselves, and they need to understand that right now their goal is to be an opposition party to Trump and to stick up for their constituents, not to kumbaya and, oh, we'll just have to make it through these next 3, 4 years. No, but you can still get some stuff done, even if it just means repairing democracy and making it stronger on behalf of the most marginalized in America.
For certain. Um, but hey, I saw something on Facebook during after the State of the Union, and one person had suggested that Kamala Harris should be doing more. Where he was going with that was she should have delivered a Democratic response for the State of the Union, she needs to be the opposition party voice or leader and just be in the faces constantly, like they would probably do in the UK or the EU or, in a more parliamentary system like that. I first was like, what more you expect from her? But once I read this thread, I'm like, okay, he's kind of sort of got a point because if it was the other side, I mean, pretty much, let's be real. After 2020, after Trump's defeat and he left office, albeit he was kicking and screaming, there was never really no resting period. He kind of just started to run for president indirectly, then officially, pretty much right out the gate. I mean, the whole Biden presidency, he was pretty much running for president again.
Right.
So, Mr. Greer, what are your thoughts on that? Now, I know on the surface this sounds, are you crazy? She done enough. But just given that, what are your feelings on should she be a louder voice? Should she be in the faces? Should she just go away? What are your thoughts on that, just in general?
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know where you were going with that there for a second because I've seen those same sentiments, and I'm more so of the mindset that she has done her time and that if she wants to be quiet or more dormant right now, then that's fine. What more do people expect from her? But I think that's interesting. It would have been nice to maybe have her give a response and to just show that she's still active and still committed to everything that she ran for. I don't know what her political aspirations are. You know, we've heard Governor of California. She, I think, is working on a book or just put out a book. She's kind of restructured her website online. I'm not mad at that idea. I do think North Carolina, excuse me, well, North Carolina too, but
Yeah.
American politics needs to shift more toward this coalition or opposition party style because I think that would just be best for the people. But at the end of the day, Kamala Harris, she lost, right? And so I'm not sure if people really would want to hear from her unless she's really committed to running again or to somehow taking Trump down in some other way. So. That idea could go either way for me. I'm not as mad as that. I'm not as mad at that idea as I am with some people who are saying, "Oh, she just needs to do more. She needs to run again." And again, no real vision there. You just want someone other than Trump. And
I get that.
unfortunately,
Yeah, I
that's
see
not
that.
how the cookie crumbled. So I think to say something specific like, "Ooh, it would have been nice to have her give a response or a rebuttal," kind of like Bernie Sanders did, even though he wasn't the main person assigned to do that. Not a bad idea. But again, I don't think that, she's any less of a person or a politician for not doing that. I'm sure she's tired. I'm sure she's resting and trying to figure out what to do next and how she can help. I don't think she's completely detached from our system. I just don't think it's her time to really speak up and speak loudly. Just like I didn't think it and don't think Stacey Abrams needs to keep running and keep speaking about these same things where unfortunately, for better or for worse, that angle has just not worked for her. And so now she's a professor and she's continuing to write books and to change the way people think that way. I think that's more appropriate.
Yeah, for sure. Well, final segment before Zoom kicks us out. Greer, what are your thoughts on Southwest Airlines getting rid of they're ditching their bag fees?
Man, great question. I was talking about that with my family and friends this whole past week. I think it's crazy. That's the main reason people fly Southwest, let's be honest, is for those
Yeah.
free bags. And so the fact that they're getting rid of the checked bags, or they're going to start charging, I don't think that's going to go well for them. So looks like I'll be
Yeah,
sticking with Delta and American and JetBlue.
exactly. I completely agree the same way. It was going to come at some point. They've been talking about giving those bag fees in small corners for the longest time. So it was just a matter of time, especially in this economy, in this world. And I always say, I joke around. I think you even joked at this too. They want to be Delta or American Airlines so bad. Like they always felt like the stepchild to them.
Right,
So
right.
hey, maybe Safe Skies Initiative should lobby for them to bring back the two free check bags. We should make a crossover. Since we're seeing less plane crashes now,
I
maybe
know.
it
Yeah,
should be
speaking,
lobby. We should lobby for cheaper airfare and more perks,
there you go. Hey, the
leading grassroots
industry needs
affairs.
it. The
Yeah,
industry needs it.